Knees bent, the soles of the feet on the floor, and walking your feet forwards a little bit away from the sit bones so that the natural curve of your lower back lifts away from the floor. If you take your arms out to the side, palms facing to the ceiling, maybe press into the back of your head and lift the shoulder blades, draw them down your back, and replace them on the floor, shuffle back a little bit so the skin of the upper back is pinned a little bit to the floor, helping to broaden your upper back into the floor. Once you've found your position, taking a deep inhale breath through the nose, filling the whole of the ribcage space. Exhale it out, feel like you're sinking the back of the body into the floor. And as you continue to breathe through your nose on both your inhale and your exhale, let the jaws release and the skin of your face relax. Have a sense that you're letting the brow broaden and bringing your gaze inwards to the back of the eyelids. Bringing your full attention to the flow of your breath, feeling the air as it passes from the tips of the nostrils to the lungs, and from the lungs back to the tips of the nostrils. Consciously soften the abdomen as you breathe, letting the abdomen expand with your inhale and sink back towards the spine with your exhale. And consciously starting to deepen your breath. Feel like you're taking the breath out into the side ribs and all the way up underneath the collarbones. As you exhale, releasing any tension or action in the body, feeling that you're still trying to melt into the floor. And now allowing your breath to just settle back into its natural, spontaneous rhythm. Still breathing through the nose. And reaching your arms up over your head. Interlace the fingers and turn the palms towards the back of the room. That causes any pain in the elbow or the shoulder, then you don't need to turn the palms towards the back of the room. Now, either stretching the knuckles or the palms, reach away as much as you can. Take a deep inhale breath, filling the side ribs again. As you exhale, trying to let the shoulder blades sink back into the floor, broadening your upper back. And extending your legs. And keeping the feet pretty close together, start to walk the heels over towards the right side of the mat. You can hook the left ankle over the right ankle once you've reached that limit. And then walk the shoulder blades over towards the right side of the mat. If you find it easier to hook the left wrist with the right forefinger and thumb rather than interlacing the fingers, then you can do that. Feel like you're trying to let both shoulder blades sink back into the floor and relax your abdomen as you breathe. Feel like you're directing the breath towards the left side waist, left outer hip. And then unhooking your left ankle off the right ankle, walk the heels back to the center, the shoulder blades back to the center, and then walking the heels and the shoulder blades over towards the left side of the mat. If it feels comfortable, hooking the right ankle over the left ankle. And changing, if you are using the forefinger and thumb grip, changing so that it's the left forefinger and thumb gripping the right wrist. Otherwise, keeping the interlace. And directing your breath towards the right side rib cage, right outer hip. And keep the abdomen soft so that it can expand with your inhale and soften back towards the spine with your exhale. Then unhooking the foot and walking your heels back to the center, the shoulder blades back to the center. Release the grip. Bring your arms down to the sides of the body. You can have the palms on the floor. Then bending your knees again. Lift the soles of the feet and bring your knees together, stacking your knees over your hips. As you stack the knees over the hips rather than bringing them in towards the chest, you'll maintain that natural curve of the lower back lifting away from the floor at this moment. And take an inhale, raise your arms over your head. And as you exhale, bringing the chin in, lifting the shoulder blades, start to reach the fingertips towards the front of the room, framing the legs. Give your thighs a little squeeze towards each other, maintaining the knees stacked over the hips. And the lower back will have descended to the floor as we make this lift. And just taking the arms over the head again, but keeping the knees stable where they are. Take a deep inhale breath as you stretch the fingertips towards the back of the room. Still keeping the knees static over the hips, and then exhaling, lifting again, stretching the fingertips towards the front of the room. And then slowly taking the arms down again over the head, knees completely static over the hips. Deep inhale breath again. And exhale, chin in, lift the shoulder blades, stretch the fingertips forwards. Holding it there, but maintaining your breath. And slowly again, taking the arms over the head, take an inhale breath there, and now draw your knees in towards your chest. And take the hands to the kneecaps and separate your knees out wide so the knees are coming out towards the back corners of the mat as if trying to descend to the outer rib cage. And reach your arms through the center and grab your ankles or shins. Bring the soles of the feet together and bending your elbows. Press the elbows into the inner thighs and feel like you're trying to take the outer thighs towards the front of the mat as you draw the feet towards you. Take some deep breaths into the lower belly. Span the belly, feel like you're breathing the belly up towards the ceiling. And then keeping the knees where they are, but releasing the ankles, turn the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, so as much as you can. And reach up with your first two fingers and slot between your big toe and your second toe. I feel like you're drawing your shoulder blades down into the floor. So you're trying to broaden the upper back into the floor. Still breathing into the lower belly, feeling like you're expanding the belly, trying to breathe it up between your thighs. Think about lengthening your tailbone towards the front of the mat. And having a little bit of a happy baby roll, relax the action a little bit and just start to circle the feet. You're doing alternate circles so that you're giving yourself a little rock around. A little bit of straightening and bending of the legs as you move into the momentum of that rock. And then bring that back to stillness and cross your ankles, holding onto the shins just below the knees, lifting the head off the floor, chin in. Give yourself a little rock and roll from the shoulders to the sit bones, from the shoulders to the sit bones. And then rock that up to seated cross-leg position. I'm just going to let somebody else into it from the waiting room because I can see somebody waiting. So bear with me. Morning, Sue.
Oh, good morning, Claire. Sorry.
It's all right.
I was sorry, I was ready, and then somebody knocked on the door.
Not to worry. At least you waited, and I eventually saw you once I'd rocked up from being on my back. So I'm glad you waited, Sue. Lovely to see you.
Oh, so I just thought I'd just see. Am I here on my own?
No, you're not here on your own.
Right.
There's a whole crowd with you. We've just rocked up to a seated cross-leg
very
position.
good.
Then just see how you go. Obviously, take a rest if anything doesn't feel good.
I'll do what I can. I might disappear if I think it's, but yeah.
A bit too much. All right.
Yeah. All right, love.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll just
That's
mute.
all right.
I'll just mute.
There you go. All right, so we're in a cross-leg seated position. Bring your fingertips to the side of the hips, press into the sit bones. Feel like you're lifting and broadening the chest, lifting, broadening across the collarbones. And then start to lean forwards. So you're keeping that breadth across the collarbones as you lean forwards, just coming to your maximum lean, and then just moving the hands in front of you. As you bring the hands in front of you, grip your fingertips into the floor. Feel like you're pulling the floor towards you, but you're moving your heart center forwards as if you're trying to draw it through your thumbs. If you manage to get down onto the elbows when you lean forwards, then connect the upper arms to the shins and feel like you're drawing the upper arms back against the shins as you draw that heart center forwards. Bring the chin in a little bit towards the chest so the back of your neck is in line with the rest of the spine. Feel like you're trying to expand the back of the body, particularly the lower back, outer hips as you breathe in. The belly is still soft and you're letting the abdomen expand with your breath. And then bringing that back up to a spine vertical position. Change the position of your legs so that you're coming into Upavishta Konasana position, 90-degree angle with the legs. And you can have the fingertips alongside the hips. It helps just to keep that collarbone area broad. Activate your feet, reach away through the heels, the ball of the foot, flex the toes back, and feel like you're pressing the backs of the legs down into the floor, almost as if you're trying to lift your heels. If they lift, that's fine. If they don't, that's also fine. And then lean forwards again. And feel like you're trying to let that lower part of the breastbone move forwards. Only leaning as far as it feels sensible to go, and then hands in front again. Gripping the fingertips into the floor, or if you've got the elbows down, grounding the forearms, and feel like you're drawing either the fingertips or the forearms back towards you. Heart center moving forwards. Keep the leg as active. Feel like you're pressing the backs of the legs down into the floor. And bringing that back up to sitting and crossing your legs again, but with the opposite leg to the in front of the one you had last time. So it's going to be the one that feels peculiar, not the one that automatically goes there. Once you've got the legs crossed, inhaling, take your arms out to the side. And then wrap your right elbow underneath the left elbow and wrap the arms. Lift the elbows so the elbows are pretty much in line with the shoulders and feel like you're pulling the arms apart as you breathe into your upper back. Use the inhale breath to expand the space between your shoulder blades. You can connect the thumb to the forehead and then take a little bow forwards. Let's see how far you go. Keep that action in the arms of trying to pull the arms apart and still breathing into the upper back and expanding the space between your shoulder blades. And coming back up to vertical spine, inhale, breath, extend the arms out to the side, and then left arm underneath the right arm wrap. Lift the elbows to the height of the shoulders if you can, and take a few breaths. Expand the upper back. Feel like you're still trying to pull the arms apart and away from each other. So there's resistance between the two arms. And then bowing it forwards again just as much as you can. Still finding that action in the upper back, trying to spread the shoulder blades apart with the action of the arms and the inhale breath. And bringing that back to spine vertical. One more inhale breath as you reach out through both fingertips with the arms. And breath, bringing the arms to the sides of the body, unhooking the foot and rolling yourself to an all fours position. Spread your fingers wide, plant the ends of the thumbs, the pads of the fingers into the floor and spiral the biceps forwards. Tuck your toes under, push the front of the mat away, keep the arms strong. So keep the connection, pads of the fingers, ends of the thumbs. Feel like you're turning your biceps up towards the ceiling. Take the sitting bones as far back towards the heels as you can while you maintain that grounding action in the palms. And then so instead of pressing forwards through the hands, once you've reached your maximum position, as you ground the pads of the fingers and end of the thumb into the floor, and you might even grip the fingertips in again, feel like you're pulling the hands towards the back of the mat. Breathing into your upper back again. Expand the upper back with your inhale breath. Keep that grip, feel like you're pulling the hands towards the back of the mat. And then rock back forwards to all fours. Point your toes back and feel like you're dropping your hips forwards towards the floor, but maintain that action in the arms. So you're spiraling the biceps forwards. We're coming into what you might call the casual upward dog. So the arms are straight, but you're not doing much action in the legs, just letting the hips drop down towards the floor. It's all right, we're doing a slow warm-up today, as we've all indulged a little bit over Christmas. But I'm sure you'll all find yourself getting a little bit warmer soon. All right. And then rock it back again. As you rock it back, tuck your toes under, push the front of the mat away this time, chin towards the chest, and then press yourself up into a downward dog. You might keep the knees bent for a few breaths as you continue to ground through the hands and push the front of the mat away. Release the sit bones, get the full length through the side body, and then ground through the balls of the feet and extend the heels down. Try not to pitch the shoulders forwards or the sit bones forwards. As you exhale, think about activating your bandha, so hollowing out the lower abdomen, the lift of the pelvic floor, drawing the navel back towards the spine.
Maybe even pad a band of the footlock, feeling like you're lifting the instep. And raising your right leg over your head, ground through the ball of the left foot. Really stretch the right toes for the ceiling. And slowly, gracefully, with control, bring that foot forwards and place it into a lunge position. Hip width distance from the left foot. That you've got a good solid base when we lift our hands off the floor. And the action through the feet first. Press through the ball of the left foot. Feel like the muscles are engaging, right? The thigh muscles are engaging on that left leg. Lighten your right toes and press forwards through the ball and heel of the front foot. So a feeling of pressing back through the back foot, pressing forwards through the front foot. And take an inhale breath and raise your arms up over your head. Keep the front knee bent low. Once you're up, reground through the ball of the back foot, firm that back leg, feel like you're moving the inner thigh back. And see if you can sink a little bit lower, pubic bone towards the floor. Thinking about lifting that lower breastbone area, take an inhale breath and reach up a little bit more. If you can reach the fingertips towards the back of the room. Keeping a steady breath and a concentrated gaze. Still activating that back leg. Each inhale breath trying to lift the lower part of the breastbone a little bit higher. And then bring the hands back down to the floor and step that right foot back into downward dog. Couple of breaths in downward dog. And lift the left leg up in the air behind you. Ground through the ball of the right foot. Engage the quadriceps, reach the left toes high. And then float that left foot forwards. Hip width distance from the right one when you do. Get the feet active again. Press into the ball of the right foot. Feel like you're taking the inner thigh back. Bend the front knee low. Keep the left toes light. Press forwards through the front heel so you feel the power through the leg. And then inhale, raise your arms up. Press back into the ball of the right foot. Feel like you're taking the inner thigh back. Keep that action as you try and bend the front knee a little bit lower. And feeling of lifting the lower part of the breastbone as you reach the arms up and back, keeping a focus on your breath. You might direct the breath towards the front of the right hip. Now we're in a back bend at the moment, working that back bend through the right leg. So we're getting that stretch across the front of the hip flexor on that right side. And then bringing the hands down to the floor. Step the left foot back into downward dog and have a little walk. So bending one knee as you extend the opposite heel down towards the floor. And lifting that right leg up in the air behind you again. Float it forwards into that lunge position. And the grounding action of the feet, the firmness in the back foot. Take an inhale, raise your arms up over your head. And feeling like you're lifting your hip points, bend the back knee. Bend it down and hover it off the floor. So now keep feeling like you're lifting the hip points and trying to draw that left thigh forwards towards the front of the mat. I even feel like you're trying to pull the right foot back towards the back of the mat. One more inhale, lift the chest as high as you can. And then hands back down to the floor. Step that right foot back, downward dog. Lifting the left leg in the air behind you. Floating it forwards into lunge position. Inhale, breath, arms up over the head. Keep the back leg nice and firm for now. Then lifting your hip points, bend the back knee so you're lengthening the tailbone down towards the floor. Feel like you're trying to draw the right thigh forwards. You might even feel like you're trying to pull the left foot back. So now we're getting the stretch through that hip flexor again, but we're activating it under that stretch. So as you try to pull the thigh forwards, that muscle is trying to contract while it's stretching. I know it can feel like hell.
But that's going to spread the strength through that muscle all the way from one end to the other. And then bringing the hands down to the floor. Step that left foot back. Have a little walk out. Extending one heel down towards the floor. Opposite heel down towards the floor. And then coming down to your knees, step the right foot forwards between your hands. And you can slide the left knee back a little bit. Let's see how that goes. Sink your left hip bone down towards the floor, the right sit bone down towards your heel, and lift your chest. Up on the fingertips, you might even be hovering the hands off the floor. So if you feel like you can sink that left hip bone down, but that means the hands have got to lift up, then feel free to lift the hands off the floor and just have them reach down, fingertips alongside the body. And bringing the hands back to the floor. If you lifted them, rock back onto that right heel. Sitting bones back towards the heels, right sole of foot lifting. Press into the right heel and feel like you're pulling it towards the back of the mat. And you might even feel like you're trying to pull your left shin forwards towards the front of the mat. Grip your fingertips in and see if you can pull the fingertips towards the back of the mat with a sense of lifting that lower part of the breastbone forwards again. So as you grip the fingertips in and try and draw them back, it's just activating the back muscles to help free the neck and draw the shoulder blades down the back. Flex your toes back towards your nose a little bit more strongly. Actively try and engage the right quadricep muscle, and then see if you can lie down lower over that leg. Forehead towards your shin. Now see if you can sit down lower, sitting bones towards your heels. All right, so rock it back forwards. And then take the right knee back, step the left foot forwards. And you can slide that right knee back again. Feel like you're sinking that right hip bone down towards the floor, left sitting bone down towards the heel. And if you want to lift the hands up, you can. If you feel like that's okay to let that right hip bone sink down in that position. Have a nice firm front foot though. So you might activate that left foot by pressing down through the heel and pushing it slightly forwards. As you make that action, be aware that your right knee might slide a bit further back. And then bring the fingertips back to the floor and rock back onto the left heel. Flex the foot and toes towards your nose. Press into that left heel. Feel like you're pulling it towards the back of the mat. You might even try and pull the right shin forwards at the same time. Bring the fingertips in. Now, like you're pulling those back as you lift the heart center and move it forwards. And activate the left side quadriceps if your leg's anywhere near straight. Keep flexing the toes back. And then try and lay down closer to the leg, forehead towards the shin. And now try and sit down lower, sitting bones closer towards the heel. Right. Rock it back forwards again, sole of the foot to the floor and step that foot back. Palms to the floor, back to your all fours position. Move the hip bones forwards, drop them down towards the floor. Pressing into the hands, spiral the biceps forwards, so you've got this active arms, casual upward dog. And then allow the elbows to bend so that the upper arms are sliding back alongside the rib cage. With resistance, peel all the way from the pubic bone through the belly and onto the chest, all the way down onto the floor. Our hands are still fairly high towards the shoulders, your fingertips kind of under the front heads of the shoulders. Grip the fingertips into the floor and press into the tops of your feet. And then feel like you're pulling the hands towards the back of the mat as you lift the front heads of the shoulders, the chest and the chin. So we're coming into low cobra. Keep pressing the tops of your feet down. Try and press the pubic bone more down towards the floor and see if the chest will lift a little bit higher. Now re-grip the fingertips, pull the hands towards the back of the mat. Feel like you're trying to slightly squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other. And then bring that down, chest, chin to the floor. Bring your hands alongside the lower ribs. Ground through the mouths of the thumbs, the pads of the fingers. Keep the elbows in. Press into the tops of the feet, pubic bone moves down.
Press forwards through the hands and lift into high cobra, thighs down, elbows bent. And then slow resistance, exactly the same way you went up, peel your way down. And then one more time, high cobra. And continue straightening the arms and hovering the thighs. Feel like you're lifting the lower part of that breastbone. And pull the hip bones forwards a little bit. And then roll over slowly over the toes and back into downward dog. Lift the right leg up in the air behind you. Ground through the ball of the left foot. Then keeping that leg lifted, rock forwards to plank with the leg lifted. Strong resistance through the hands, stretch the toes for the back wall, and then bending the elbows directly backwards, pitching the weight forwards, one leg chaturanga. So, resistance in the arms, chin hovers, right leg lifts higher, and then bring it down, point the toes back, you're all the way back down onto your belly. Hands alongside the lower ribs. Inhale to high cobra. Elbows are bent. You're drawing the shoulder blades down the back and lengthening the crown of the head for the ceiling. And then slowly releasing it back down to the floor. One more time, slow rise into high cobra. And press into the hands, take it all the way to upward dog. Feel like you're drawing your hip bones forwards, lifting the heart center. And then roll it over your toes. Downward dog, sitting bones lift. Lift the left leg in the air behind you. Rock it forwards to plank with the leg lifted. Stretch the toes for the back wall, real resistance through the pads of the fingers and end of the thumb. And elbows bend backwards, weight pitches forwards. Left leg stays lifted, chaturanga one leg. And then foot down to the floor. Point the feet back, hands to the lower ribs. Inhale, high cobra. With resistance, bringing it back down to the floor. And then one more time, high cobra. You join the elbows in, lengthen the neck. You know that feeling of lifting the heart center and then take it all the way to upward dog. And back over your toes. Into downward dog, lifting the right leg in the air behind you, this time floating it forwards into that lunge position. Come to your fingertips and straighten your front leg. A little bit of resistance forwards through that right heel, activate the right side quadriceps. Feel like you're slightly drawing that air to right hip back towards the midline of the mat. And as you press into your fingertips, lift the chest forwards again, and then fold as much as you can over that front leg, forehead towards your shin. Keep activating that right side quadriceps. Feel like you're drawing those up, engaging those, trying to suck that right thigh bone back into your hip socket. And then rebend your front knee. And taking a look at your left foot, hop it slightly forwards and then turn the left heel to the floor. So you're in warrior one foot position, left toes towards the front left corner of the mat. You're not in warrior one itself, just the foot position. And then re-straighten your front leg. So if you need blocks or anything to put your hands on, you can do that. Again, trying to engage those right side quadriceps. Squeeze the air to hips in towards each other. So it's not just that the right air to hip is moving over towards the left side of the mat, it kind of is, but you're trying to squeeze everything into the center. Lift the chest right forwards and then lay down as much as you can over that leg, forehead towards the shin. Keep trying to work the quadriceps action, the front thigh muscles, the air to squeeze on the hips. And bend in your front knee, turn the back foot into a lunge and reach your hands forwards in front of you. Hop the left leg into the air behind you. Have a look at your left toes and turn the toes down towards the floor. Engage the quadriceps on the right leg. See if you can lift that left heel a little bit higher but without changing the toes so that the toes reach out to the side of the rim. So it doesn't matter how high that heel goes, the way you're going to be feeling this more than anything is in your standing leg. So that's why we're trying to turn the toes down towards the floor, just getting the maximum into that standing leg. Then with control, bending your front knee, step that left foot back behind you and rise arms over the head into crescent lunge. Take the arms behind the back, interlace the fingers, stretch the knuckles towards your back heel. You're pressing through the ball of the back foot, take the inner thigh back, bend your front knee as low as it's going to go, and then fold forwards over that leg. Try and slide the right side rib cage down the inside of the thigh. Reach the knuckles up towards the ceiling. Look towards your back big toe and keep trying to work the action of the back leg while you're in position. Deep full breaths, broaden the collarbones as you breathe. And bringing that back up to spine vertical. Inhale, arms over the head. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back into downward dog. Lifting the left leg up in the air behind you. Slowly, gracefully bringing that forwards into lunge. And straighten your front leg while you're up on your fingertips. Squeeze the outer left hip back towards the midline of the mat. Feel like you're squeezing both outer hips towards each other. Press into the fingertips, draw the chest forwards and then lay down over that leg just as much as you can. Keep trying to rework that quadricep action. Feeling of sucking the left side thigh bone back into the hip socket. And bend your front knee. Have a look at the back foot, hop it slightly forwards, turn the heel to the floor, right toes towards the right corner of the mat. Press back into that heel, re-straighten the front leg. And again, feel like you're swinging your outer left hip back to the midline of the mat and trying to squeeze the outer hips towards each other. Lay down as much as you can over that leg, forehead towards the shin. When you lay down, particularly, feel like you're trying to suck that left thigh bone back into that hip socket. A sense of lift. And bending your front knee, turning the back foot back into a lunge, reach the hands forwards, hop that right leg up into the air, and turn your toes down towards the floor. So as we turn the toes down, we're aligning the hips. Engage the quadriceps on your left leg. Then see if you can lift that right heel a bit higher, but don't let the toes turn out towards the side of the rim. And bending your front knee, reach the right foot back behind you, graceful as you can, and the arms up overhead in your lunge. Refirm that back leg. Take a deep inhale, breath, stretch the fingers for the ceiling. As you exhale, bring the hands down, interlace the fingers, stretch the knuckles back. As you continue to inhale, feel like you're using the action of the knuckles reaching back, shoulder blades squeezing towards each other to broaden across the collarbones. Take your breath there. And then fold forwards over that front leg. Bend the knee as low as it'll go as you do. Left side rib cage sliding down the thigh, lifting the knuckles towards the ceiling, looking towards your back big toe so that the back of the neck is not in a crunch position. And then lifting back up off of the leg. Take a stretch of the knuckles back towards the heel. And lift the arms over your head. And hands back down to the floor, step it back into downward dog. From downward dog, rock forwards to plank. From plank, see if you can hover in chaturanga, 2 arms. Elbows bend back, weight pitches forwards. Then bring it all the way down onto your belly, point the toes back. Bring the arms to the sides of the body with the palms facing down. A little bit away from the torso, so they're like wings. Press the palms into the floor, the tops of the feet, the pubic bone down, lift the front heads of the shoulders, the chest and the chin. So as you press into the hands, feel slightly like you're trying to draw them in towards the body. Keep that active, and as you exhale, think about activating the bandha, the locks of the body,
Lift of the pelvic floor, drawing the navel in, maybe even that feeling of cinching in the side waist with your exhale breath. And then bring chest, chin to the floor, hands alongside the lower ribs, press into the tops of the feet, 2 high cobras. Inhaling to high cobra, hold it for a breath or 2. And then with resistance, peel back down to the floor. Once again, peeling with an inhale breath up to high cobra. Hold it for a couple of breaths, lengthen the neck, hug those elbows in, and then peel that down to the floor. So slowly goes. Maybe move the hands a little bit more towards the waist and inhale all the way to upward dog. Straight arms. Press into the tops of your feet and try and draw your hip bones forwards. Try and lift that lower part of the breastbone. And then rock back over the toes. Take it back into downward dog. Rocking down onto the knees. Turn your right foot, point the toes back, then turn the right foot off the mat and come into a knee down side plank. So left leg straight, sole of the foot on the floor. Your right knee is pretty much lined up with the instep of that foot, but you know, everybody's a little bit different. Then once you're in that position with the leg, turn the toes of the right foot so that it's lining the shin up directly with the knee. Press into the right hand, spiral your bicep to the front of the mat. Press into the left foot, try and lift your left hip higher as you take the left arm forwards over your ear. Ground through the right shin, press all the way down from the knee to the top of the foot. Breathing into that left side rib cage. Then take the arm back up so that the middle finger points to the ceiling and lift your left leg in the air. Dorsiflex the left foot and feel like you're pressing that left sole of foot towards the wall behind you. Re-ground through the right shin. Re-spiral the right bicep towards the front of the mat. And then delicately bringing that left foot down, left hand down, come back to all fours. Take it the other way, left foot off the mat. Right leg straighten, sole of foot on the floor. Right fingertips to the ceiling, then readjust the left toes so they're behind the knee. If you can get a little bit higher with the right hip here, you can always shuffle your left knee closer to your hand. So the thigh is vertical. And spiral the left bicep towards the front of the mat as you ground through the thumb. And then bring your right arm forwards. You're stretching all the way from the right heel to the fingertips. It's a kind of combination of side angle pose and side plank, this pose. Reaching, grounding that right foot as you reach the right middle fingertip away. Then bringing the right middle finger to point to the ceiling, lift the right leg up. Dorsiflex your foot. Feel like you're pressing the sole of that foot towards the wall at the back of the room. Ground through the left shin and keep activating your left arm. And then bring that side down, right hand to the floor, both knees to the floor. Whilst you're there, have a little wiggle. Rocking the hips from side to side and taking the sit bones back towards the heels. And then over, around in the opposite direction. And bring that back to stillness. And once again, take the right foot off the mat. Coming into that same position on the right side. Adjust the knee as much as you need to get the toes lined up behind that knee. And ground through the right hand again, spiral the bicep towards the front of the mat. So notice that's drawing the right shoulder blade in onto the back. And then lift your left leg again. And now bending that left knee, and you can bring the knee towards the chest to do this. Reach down with your left hand, see if you can grab the ankle or the foot. Once you've got it, ground through the right shin and the right hand again and kick that foot back behind your sit bone. So it will lift a little bit to the ceiling, but mainly you're trying to kick it back behind you. Reactivate that right shin and the right hand, the spiraling of the bicep forwards. Keep kicking. Breathe all the way up underneath the collarbones. And then release it gently.
And rock it to the other side. Left foot off the mat. Left side. Adjusting the knee closer to the hand if you can get more height with the hip. And lifting the right leg up. Out to the toes. Get good action on the grounding of the left shin. Bend your knee and reach for the ankle. Give it a kick. Back behind you. Keep grounding through the left shin as strongly as you can. Spiral the left biceps to the front of the mat as you ground through the end of that thumb. Kick a little bit harder. Good. And then release that. Coming back to all fours and have a little wiggle around. Take it back in the other direction. And then coming back to stillness, tuck your toes under, rise into downward dog. Lifting the right leg up in the air behind you. Float it forwards to lunge. Now plant the left heel with the feet in warrior two foot position. So left toes out towards the side of the mat. Swing that outer right hip back to the midline. Reach your left arm forwards towards the front of the room, then up to the ceiling and lift yourself up into warrior two. Now adjust your feet, ground into the outer edge of the left foot and bend the front knee as low as it will go with the knees centered in the right foot. Draw the left arm back, stretch the chest open. And then bring that right arm down to the inside of the right thigh, left middle fingertips to the ceiling, right middle fingertip hovering off the floor so the hand isn't down. You try to draw that outer right hip over towards the left side of the mat. Resist against the leg with the arm. Turn the chest open as much as you can. Then either sliding the right hand down to the floor or drawing the right forearm up onto the thigh, bring the left arm forwards to over the ears so that you're in a classic Parshvakonasana side angle pose. You're grounding into the outer edge of the left foot, reach the left middle fingertips away. If your hand is down on the floor or on a block, and you want to take the bind, reach the right arm underneath the thigh, the left arm down the back, grab. And work back to trying to stack your shoulder blades. I know we're holding this for a long time. And then if you've got the bind, release it, come back to join everybody else in classic Parshvakonasana. And everybody draw that up into warrior two position. So giving you a couple of seconds to grab a block or a support if you need it. We're going to convert this to Ardha Chandrasana half moon pose. So one leg balance, chest open. So elegantly from your warrior two position, graceful as transition as you can. Right hand to the floor or block, left leg lifts. Work the quadricep action on your right leg. If the right hand is solid on a block or on the floor, try and get a slight clockwise turn of the hand to draw that right shoulder blade in onto the back. Dorsiflex your left foot, so flex the toes back towards the knee. Feel like you're trying to press that foot back towards the back wall. Then with grace and control, bending the front knee for control, elegantly confer it back into downward dog. Bring the hands to the floor, step the right foot back into downward dog. Did I say downward dog before? I did, didn't I? I meant warrior two. Lifting the left leg up in the air behind you. Float it forwards to lunge position and then convert the feet to warrior two. Right toes turning out towards the side. Stretch that right arm forwards, run out to the ceiling and drop. Into warrior two, setting your feet, pressing into the outer edge of the right foot. You might even lift the hip points, lift the instep, stretch that right arm back, really open the chest. Then left arm to the inside of the left leg, right middle fingertip to the ceiling. Pressing the arm against the leg, get the turn of the chest. Sink that knee as low as you can. And then either left hand to the floor or forearm to the thigh. Bring that right arm over your ear. Keep pressing into the outer edge of the foot. Stretch the middle fingertips away.
If you want to take the bind, the hands down, take the left hand under and the right hand down the back. Yeah, good action. So you're trying to restack the shoulder blades as you press that shoulder blade back and try and draw that outer left hip back towards the side of the mat you're facing. Releasing it, come back to join everybody in the classic position. And then draw that back up to warrior two. Deep inhale breath and then transfer it into Ardha Chandrasana as elegantly as you can. Firm your standing leg, engage those quadriceps. Dorsiflex the top foot, the lifted foot, flexing the toes back towards the knee and feel like you're pressing the sole of that foot back into the wall. If the left hand is grounded, feeling of slight anti-clockwise turn. Then bending your front knee for control. Take it back into warrior two. Take a breath in warrior two. Take it into downward dog. From downward dog, rock forwards to plank. From plank, see if you can hover in chaturanga on your way to the belly. Then come all the way to the belly and point your toes back. Bringing the arms in front of you so the hands are pretty much stacked on top of each other and you're in a beach pose. Bend your right knee, take the right arm back behind you and grab hold of the foot from the outside. Then see if you can turn the hand over the top of the foot so your fingertips are pointing towards the knee. If you can't, you could still hold on to the outside. Feel like you're pressing your right hip bone down into the floor. And then try and squeeze that right heel as if you were trying to bring it to the floor alongside your outer hip. Keep lifting the chest as you do. Breathe all the way up underneath that right collarbone. The hands on the outside, do the same action, pressing the right hip bone down towards the floor. And don't forget the right hip bone pressing down towards the floor in this pose, otherwise you're kind of wasting your time. So you want to press the right hip bone down at the same time as you squeeze that heel in. Good. And then release it on that side. Bring the right arm back in front, mirroring the left, and go to the other side. Hand to the outside of the foot and then turn it over the top of the foot if you can. Then elbow. Press the left hip bone down towards the floor and then feel like you're squeezing the left heel down as if trying to get it down to the floor outside your hip. Breathing all the way up underneath that left side collarbone, trying to lift the chest. And release the chest down, but hold on to the foot. Take the hand back to the outside of the foot as you release the chest down, and then bend the right knee and grab that foot from the outside. So try and get your fingers and your thumb all round the ankle. Press the pubic bone down into the floor. Lift the chest. And then kick the feet back. So kick them back into the hands as if you're trying to get the chest to lift more. So the leg action is what you're looking for more than anything. As you exhale, you might redraw the navel in. Kick back, kick the toes to the ceiling now. Try and lift a little bit higher. And then release it down slowly, all the way back onto the chin. Bring the hands forwards. Stack them under the forehead and just take a deep inhale breath and then relax completely with your exhale for a moment. And now we're going to do that one more time, but I'm going to give you an option. So either you can hold on to the feet from the outside, or you can walk the hands over the top until you bring them all the way around to the inside. Palms are facing out and thumbs facing up. Up to you, whether you're outside or inside, just a slightly different rotation of the arms if you've got the hands inside. Press the pubic bone down again. Lift the front heads of the shoulders, chest, chin, and start to kick. Kick back as if you're trying to balance on your hip bones rather than your belly. And kick the toes up. Lift, 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 lift as much as you can, both ends of the body.
And then release it. Chest into the floor and hands to the lower ribs. Pressing into the top of the feet, pubic bone down. Rising through high cobra, so go slow, and all the way to upward dog. Press into the tops of the feet, draw the hip bones forwards, draw the chest forwards, lengthen the neck, and then slow roll over the toes and into downward dog. Slow, 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 slow. Bend your knees in downward dog. Let's re-lengthen through the side body as you push the front of the mat away. Balls of the feet ground, feel like you're pulling them towards the back of the mat as you extend the heels down a little bit more. Focus on your breath. And lifting the right leg up in the air behind you. Float it back forwards into a lunge position. Turn the left heel to the floor, warrior 2 foot position. Swing the outer right hip in. Reach the left arm forwards. Roll yourself back up into warrior 2. Grab that block if you need it. We're going back into Ardha Chandrasana. Deep inhale breath. As you exhale, try and lift it elegantly into Ardha Chandrasana, left leg lifts. All right, so now a little bit of extra challenge for you. We've done this on our knee. Now we're going to do it on a standing leg. Bend your left knee. Reach that left hand for the ankle. So you can still bend the left knee towards the chest, or you can bend the heel towards the buttock. Once you've grabbed the ankle, try and kick that foot back behind you. So hand could be on anything. Chest of drawers, sofa, bed, whatever you've got handy. Give it a good kick and try and engage the right side quadriceps as you do. Let the leg kick the front head of that left shoulder open. So you're using the kicking leg to help open the chest. All right, release the foot. Try and do it as elegantly as you can. Straighten the leg. Bend your right knee for control and step it back again elegantly into warrior 2. Hands to the floor, step back to downward dog. Left leg lifts up behind you. Float it forwards, lunge. Feet into warrior 2. Right arm reaches forwards up to the ceiling. Draw yourself up into warrior 2. Take a deep inhale breath. Ardha Chandrasana, right leg lifts. Then converting it to Ardha Chandra Chapasana. Half moon with a back bend. Grab the foot if you can. And just play around with it. So it takes a while for the brain to catch up on this pose. You might spend a long time faffing around trying to grab your ankle. I might spend several weeks faffing around trying to grab your ankle. But eventually the nervous system kind of gets the pattern. And even if it doesn't feel that graceful, you'll get there. All right, keep kicking. And then release it as elegantly as you can. Good job, everybody. Good perseverance. Bend that left knee. Reach the right foot back elegantly into warrior 2. From there, hands to your hips. Then as elegantly as you possibly can, step that right foot forwards to the front of the mat. Once you're at the front of the mat, hands into prayer position. Feet can be hip width distance all together. Just drawing everything back into looking inwards, looking down the tip of the nose towards the middle fingers, focusing on your breath for a few breaths. And lifting the right knee up in front of your hip. Engage the standing leg, reach the crown of your head for the ceiling, and slowly start to take that right foot back behind you. Straighten the leg as you go, allow the straightening leg to help the torso fold forwards. You're trying to broaden across the collarbones, firm the standing leg, and really reach your toes for the back wall, then try and lift the right heel to the ceiling. And slowly, with control, bring the foot back forwards, knee in front of the hip. Bring that foot down to the floor. Over to the other side, left knee lift.
Take the time to find the length from the ground to the crown of the head. Then take the leg back slowly with control, straighten it on the way. And have a sense of reach, really reach the toes towards the back wall and then feel like you're lifting the heel towards the ceiling. And bring it back forwards, knee in front of the hip. Hold it for a breath and bring that foot down to the floor. Still in your standing position, Tadasana. Interlace the hands behind you, stretch the knuckles down towards the floor. Now, if that is too much on the shoulders or too much on the elbows, you can always take the arms up over the head and interlace the fingers with the palms facing each other instead. So you've got either of those options, either arms down the back with interlaced fingers or arms over the head, interlaced fingers, release your index finger. If you've got the arms over the head, really stretch the points of the index finger for the ceiling. If you've got the interlaced fingers, stretch the knuckles, lifting the hands a little bit away from the body. And then whichever of those you're in, point the right toes back behind you. Firm that right leg as you press the tip of the big toe into the floor. And then start to lift the leg. So you're stretching the toes back, lifting the leg towards the ceiling. Leave the arms active, nice and broad across the collarbones as you stretch the knuckles back. If you've got the palms together over your head, squeeze the palms. And you're stretching those toes back. A couple more breaths. And then bring that leg down to the floor. Release the hands and shrug the shoulders. A few rolls forwards, few rolls back. Then either arms over the head or interlace the fingers. You've always got the option to swap. Reach that left toe back behind you. Find your length, lift the heart center, stretch the knuckles back. And then start to lift the foot. And continue your line all the way from the crown of the head to the toes as you pivot forwards. Try and lift that foot up to the ceiling as much as you can. So we're in Shalabhasana, locust pose. Belly down, back bend. But balancing on our own leg instead of pressing the hip bones or pubic bone into the floor. And then lift it back up. Release the hands, bring them into prayer position in front of the chest. Looking down the tip of the nose towards the middle finger, steady your breath. And either with the feet at hip width distance or feet together, release the arms to the sides of the body. Just taking the arms out to the side, deep inhale breath, reach them up towards the ceiling. And with an exhale breath, come down into forward fold. Just dangling there for a moment, so you can have bent knees if you want to. Just release the back of the neck, let the crown of the head reach for the floor. It's a little bit more difficult if your feet are together, but you can give yourself a little rock of the hips from side to side while you're in this position. And then just step back from there into downward dog. Take the right leg up behind you and then bring it forwards into pigeon position. Right knee is to the outside of the right hand. Right heel is pretty much lined up with the left hip. Press into your hands and slide that left foot back behind you. Same arm action as upward dog. So you're spiraling your biceps forwards, lifting the heart center as you let that leg go back. Let the left hip bone drop down towards the floor. And activate your legs. So feel like you're pressing into the outer right shin or calf muscle. And press into the left shin and pull the outer right shin back towards the back of the mat and the left shin forward. So the pubic bone will lift away from the floor and see if you can come up, hands off the floor. So it doesn't matter how much that lift is or how much you've got the left knee bent to do this. Once you're up, see if you can take your arms up over your head. Keep the action of the legs. Right shin pulling back, left shin pulling forwards. And take the arms down behind the back, interlace your fingers, stretch the knuckles back for the heel. Keep lifting the chest with your inhale breath, legs active. And release the hands, arms back over the head. Hands down to the floor. Slide that left knee back again as you come into a more relaxed pigeon pose. Relaxed pigeon pose. And then coming down onto your elbows or onto your forehead. As usual, Rebecca, that one's for you, the relaxed pigeon pose. So feel like you're releasing any resistance in that outer right hip. Any pressing into the floor through the outer right shin, let that go. Feel like you're taking your breath towards the outer right hip and trying to spread the flesh of that thigh with your inhale breath. And then come back up onto your hands. Active arms again, spiral the biceps forwards, lift the chest, and then just as a last touch, press into the top of the left foot and try and lift the kneecap off the floor. Just for a little bit more stretch through the front of that left hip. And release that knee down, tuck the toes under, and take your right leg back into downward dog. Walk it out a little bit, get the circulation going back through the hips and knees. And then left leg forwards into pigeon pose. Point the right toes back, slide that leg back. Just let that back leg be heavy, right hip bone sinking towards the floor, but activate your arms. Spiral in the biceps forwards, broaden the collarbones, lift the chest and the heart. Then active through the legs. Feel like you're pulling the left shin back towards the back of the room, right shin forwards, and lift up with the hands if you can. Raise your arms over your head. Stretch up as you pull that right shin forwards. Take the arms behind the back, interlace the fingers, stretch the knuckles for the back heel. Breathe all the way up underneath your collarbones, keep the legs active, left shin pulling back, right shin forwards. And then arms back over the head for a moment. Hands to the floor. Slide that right knee back again, sink everything down. Onto the elbows, onto the forehead if that feels comfortable. Trying to let any action in that left leg go, any resistance against the floor, directing your breath to the outer left hip. And drawing it back up onto the hands again, spiral the biceps forwards. Well, let's press into the top of that right foot, trying to lift the kneecap. When you do, as you press into the top of that right foot and you lift the kneecap, feel like you're trying to pull the top of the foot forwards towards the front of the mat for a moment. And then let it go. Tuck the toes under and take yourself back into downward dog. Give it a little bit of a walk out. And coming to stillness, walk your hands back towards your feet. Bend your knees so you can lay the rib cage over the thighs. And then lift the hands to the elbows. You're cradling the top of the head with the forearms. Give yourself a little rock from side to side. So as if you're bringing one left elbow forwards into the room, then right elbow forwards into the room. Just a little bit of a controlled rock. Sway, swing. And release the hands, bring them to the hips. Yeah, again, come up to standing. Turning the palm outwards, thumb facing back. Right side. Pick up the foot from the inside. Reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Really stretching from left foot to left middle fingertip and start to kick that right foot back behind you, but don't pivot forwards. So kick as much as you can, get your maximum kick of heel away from the buttock and then pivot forwards. You're trying to lift that left thumb to the ceiling as you kick that right leg back. And then release it slowly and elegantly. Take it to the other side. Left palms Facing open, pick up the left foot, line up the thighs. Feel like you're trying to lift your hip points and the heart center before you even kind of start to kick in this pose. Once you've got that feeling of lifting the heart center, kick, 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 and then pivot. Have this constant feeling that you're trying to keep the heart open and you're trying to lift the heart up. So even though you're going deeper into the pose, there's this kind of counter pose resistance going on as you try to draw back with the upper body. And then release it. If you want to find something to hold on to, we're going to take that into the same pose, but with potential standing split. So for anyone who's never done this before, I'm going to go through exactly the same motions, I'm doing it now, of the Natarajasana. Then wherever your thing is that you're stabilizing on, so it could be as high as a chest of drawers or it could be the floor, you work on your kick from there. It could be as high as a chest of drawers. Grabbing the right foot, reach the left hand up. Take your Natarajasana first, so go through the first pose that we did and elegantly enter into that. Then bring your hand down to whatever you're using for a support. And as you kick, work from the grounded foot first. So press that foot into the floor, try and firm your standing leg, and then use the power of the standing leg to drive the kick. Good. And then release that side, slowly, elegantly. Good. And over to the other side. So Natarajasana first, get all of that motion. Lift of the heart, stretching up, pivot. Keep an eye on the firming of the standing leg. And once you've reached your maximum and taken a breath, hand onto your support. Refirm the standing leg and find the drive from the earth. So we're using the pressing down of the standing leg in the earth to drive the extension of the lifted leg towards the ceiling. And then elegantly bringing it back up. Bring the hands into prayer in front of the chest, lifting your right leg up, outer right ankle onto the left thigh just above the knee. So there are 3 stages that we're going to go through in this pose. Well, 4 to be fair, because this is one of them. You can just stay here and to press that outer right ankle into the left thigh, firming the left thigh, lifting the heart center. Or you can bend that left knee and take it back into a funky chair pose. Just as if you were sitting casual, cross legs, hanging out, having a cup of tea. And then if you want to take it further, forward fold, bring the forearms so that they're parallel to the shin. You can use the elbows to press down into that inner right thigh. Left one can press down into the right instep. You can find some resistance. And if you want to take the hands down to the floor, I think this might mean it's 5 stages. You can just take the hands to the floor and try and sit lower. Those of you who want to take it into an arm balance, palms to the floor, elbows bend backwards so the upper arms form a shelf for the shin. Grip your fingertips in, look forwards, try and hook the right toes around the left upper arm. And as you lean forwards, try and lift your left foot. Any stage is good. So it's a version of pigeon pose, this pose, and we're just adding some strength into that extension into the outer hip. Coming back to standing when you're ready, left outer ankle onto right thigh. Grow tall for a minute, just enjoy being stood in that version of tree pose. Then you can take it into a funky chair. So as you take it into this chair, loads of things going on, hip stabilization, core balance. It's also forcing, in a way, that stretch into the outer left hip as you sit lower. And you can fold. If you're happy just being there, folded, stay there. Then if you want to get more of that outer hip stretch, fingertips try to reach them down to the floor. If the palms will then ground, elbows bend backwards to catch the shin. It's all right, I'm just having a look at you for a minute. Elbows bend backwards to catch the shin, try to wrap the toes around the upper arm. Lean your weight forwards and lift your bottom. So as elbows draw back, You've got to lift your bum up. Press that shin into the arm. Good. And then whenever you're ready, bring that back up to standing. Hands in prayer. Feet out to mat width distance. Let's take a couple of breaths to center yourself, and then hands to the hips, soften at your knees. And fold from the hip creases. And I'm trying to get my rib cage to slide between my thighs, so don't straighten the legs too much. And just let the head be heavy, hands dangle down to the floor. And breathe. Take deep breaths into the side ribs. Try and breathe the side ribs out into your inner thighs. And while you're there, turn your heels in. So toes are facing out towards the corners of the mat, and continue to sit. Bring yourself into a squat position. Hands into prayer in front of the chest. Get the thumbs to touch the breastbone. Press the mounds of the thumbs towards each other. As you do, upper arms will press out into the thighs. Take deep breaths all the way to the lower belly. Let the lower belly expand, the lower back expand. And release the hands. Take the hands down to behind yourself so you can steady yourself. Sit bones back down to the floor. Re-extend your legs into Upavishta Konasana. We were here at the start of the class. Extend your heels away, flex the toes back. Press into your fingertips as you lift and broaden your chest. And then fold forwards again. And just fold forwards, test how far you're going to go. Pressing the backs of the legs down into the floor, the inner thighs into the floor. Now you've tested how far you're going to go, come back up. And now we're going to do the same thing, sliding the hands down the legs. So when you slide the hands down the legs as you fold forwards, either you can hold on to shins. So you might be only folding forwards a small amount, and you might be holding on to your shins. If you hold on to the shins, you're grabbing the shins, and it's like you're trying to pull your legs shorter as you draw the chest forwards. You might be grabbing your big toes with your first two fingers and your second two fingers. If you're doing that, press the big toe into the fingers, and as you pull, try and bend the elbows. If you're holding on to the outsides of the feet, same thing. So you could be holding the outsides of the feet, press the feet into the hands, and then bending the elbows, draw yourself forwards. Any of those things. Whatever you've got a grip on, you want to create resistance. So as you create that resistance, you're activating the back muscles. It's helping to extend the front of the body and open up the front of the body. Keep activating the legs, a feeling of engaging your quadriceps, pressing the backs of the legs down into the floor. And make the breath full. And then bring that back up to a seated position, and just in a casual way, inner and outer rotation of the thighs. Give your legs a little bit of a rock. Bring the legs back into the center, and then cross your right ankle over your left thigh just above the knee. And when you do, dorsiflex your foot. So you're turning the sole of that right foot out towards the left side. Oh, I know this is not a very comfortable position with the ankle bone. And all I can say is there's not really a lot you can do about that. The right ankle bone pressing into the thigh. Yeah, the sole of the foot so that it's turning out and that leg's active. And the same thing is going on with the left sole of the foot. As you press into the sit bones, lift the chest and then start to walk forwards. Bring the hands in front of you. If you can get the upper arms to engage against that right shin, then you can do that. Or fingertips in the floor. Otherwise, upper arms against the shin. If you've got the upper arms against the shin, resist with the shin against the arms as you pull the upper arms back and feel like you're drawing your heart center forwards through the hands. If you've got the hands on the floor, you're gripping the hands in, you could be framing that leg. Or if you can reach for the left foot and get a good grip without stopping breathing, then you can always wrap the hands around the foot. Feel like you're drawing the chest forwards with your inhales, with your exhales.
You might fold a little bit lower over that leg. And releasing the foot or bring the hands back, whichever position you're in, come back to spine vertical and bend your left knee. So with the left sole of the foot on the floor and the right foot active, you're right, press into your hands and shuffle your sit bones forwards. Just have a look at how far you can go. You want to be able to lift the chest and broaden across the collarbone. So try not to end up hunched with your chin into your chest. Lengthen up, whichever position you're in. Give me a smile, because we all love these pigeon positions. Good. And then walk that foot back forwards again. And just picking up this leg. See if you can put that right foot into the crook of the left elbow. Wrap the right arm around. If you can't do the crook of the elbow, you can always put it into the hand and give it a little bit of a rock. And as you place it on the floor at the sole of that right foot at the outside of your left thigh. Interlace your fingers for a moment around that right shin. Grow tall, press into the sit bones, crown of the head reaches for the ceiling. Then wrap your left elbow around the right knee, bring the right hand down the back and take a little turn. You're trying to draw that left side rib cage over towards your right thigh. And turning the chest back forwards, unhook that foot, straighten your leg, left outer ankle onto the right thigh. Get the dorsiflexion of both feet, so both feet are active. Lengthen through the front of the body and then fold forwards. Hands come forwards. You can either frame the leg and grip the fingertips into the floor, have your upper arms against the shin, wrap your hands around the foot. Whichever one of those kind of is available to you while you can still breathe. So the more that you can activate either the gripping fingertips into the floor, the engagement of the shin against the arms and the arms against the shin, or the engagement of the foot against the hands and the hands against the foot, the better. So we're not necessarily trying to go to our deepest in any of these poses. We are trying to get that mobility, but all of that activation with the stretching is going to serve us better than just hanging out in the pose. And bring that back up to seated. Bend the right knee, right sole of foot to the floor. And then keeping the chest lifted and open, pressing into the hands as much as you need. And shuffle the sit bones forwards just as much as you like to get the, you want to feel the sensation. You don't want to be it to be excruciating. But you do want a little bit of a sensation of the stretch in the hip. And walking the sit bones back again. Straighten the leg, pick up the foot, crook of the elbow, or just the hand if the crook of the elbow doesn't work, and just give it a little bit of a rock. And left foot down to the floor outside the right thigh. Press into the sit bones, lengthen, lift the crown of the head, wrap the right elbow around that shin, left hand down the back and turn. Slowly unravel, come back to face forwards. Unhook the foot. And then just bending the sort of the knees, soles of the feet about hip width distance. However you like, roll back onto your back. And just allow yourself to lie there for a couple of breaths with the bent knees, soles of the feet are on the floor, but the heels are away from your sit bones a little bit. So natural curve of the lower back again. And extend your arms over your head and interlace your fingers.
Stretch the palms away, extend your legs, and walk the heels over towards the right side of the mat again. Walk the shoulders over to the right side of the mat again. And if you want to hook that left ankle over the right one, you can. Relax your abdomen. Just feel like you're breathing down into your belly, some full breaths. Trying to make this pose as passive as possible, so you can alter the interlace of the fingers and just hook the wrist, or you could just even just hang out with bent elbows. And then unhooking the left ankle from the right, walk it back to the center before walking the heels over to the left, the shoulders over to the left. And if you want to hook the right ankle over, you can. Soft belly as you breathe. And unhooking the foot, walking it back over into the center with the heels, the shoulder blades, bring the arms down alongside the body, palms facing towards the ceiling. If you want to press into the head and lift the shoulder blades, draw the skin of the back down and replace the shoulder blades on the floor, you can. And take a deep inhale breath through your nose, and as you exhale, sigh that breath out. And wash any action out of the body. A few more breaths like that. Each exhale looking to let go. A little bit more action in the body. Ankles releasing, hips releasing, wrists, elbows. Skin of your face softening, gaze drawing in. And as you draw your gaze in, anchoring your focus to the flow of your breath. Following the inhale from its beginning to its end. The exhale from its beginning to its end. Nothing to do.